This video is for lesson 3-1. We will be recording transactions using a multi-column journal. Our learning objectives: we will define what a journal is and explain why it is used to record transactions. We will compare and contrast different types of source documents, and we will identify the 4 parts of a journal entry. So in Chapter 2, transactions were analyzed into debit and credit parts using the accounting equation and T accounts. Transactions could be recorded this way in a business. However, as the number of accounts increases, the accounting equation would become very wide and difficult to use. That's where we're now going to be using our journal to make it easier. This is a form for recording transactions in chronological order. Most companies choose to use a journal to record transactions. Besides being more manageable, a journal also provides a more permanent record of the transactions of a business. And recording transactions in a journal is called journalizing. So there's several different types of journals. Each business can use whatever type of journal and setup that would work well for their business. It just depends on the nature of the business and the number of transactions that they use. Now, the word journal comes from a Latin word which means daily. Most businesses conduct transactions every day. To keep records up to date, businesses usually record transactions in their journal every day. The journal we will be used is called a multi-column journal. The multi-column journal has special columns for transactions that occur frequently. It also has general columns for other transactions as well. So, another business might have other kinds of transactions that occur where they could get their own special amount columns. The special amount columns we have are for sales credit, and then we have a cash debit and a cash credit column, since these transactions that use these accounts happen frequently. We also have a general debit and credit amount column as well too. So those ones are basically just for transactions that do not happen as frequently. Information needed in a journal includes the debit and credit parts of each transaction recorded in one place. The information can be verified by comparing the data in the journal with the transaction data. So it's very important for accuracy that we go ahead and make sure first of all, that the transaction actually happened. Chronological record is another function of a journal. Transactions are recorded in a journal in order by date. All information about a transaction is recorded in one place. This makes the information for a specific transaction easy to locate. And then we have double entry accounting. Information for each transaction recorded in a journal is called an entry. The recording of debit and credit parts of a transaction is called double entry accounting. In double entry accounting, each transaction affects at least 2 accounts. Both the debit and the credit parts are recorded, reflecting the dual effect of each transaction. Double entry accounting assures that debits equal credits. A business paper from which information is obtained for a journal entry is called a source document. And there are many different types of source documents we will go over, which we get our transactions from for our business. However, whenever we use a source document to journalize a transaction, we are applying the generally accepted accounting principle called objective evidence. And that's just applied when a source document is prepared for each transaction. Now, a transaction should only be journalized if it actually occurs. The amounts recorded must be accurate and true, so we are not making mistakes and errors that will hurt our business. First type of source document we'll have is a check, a business form ordering a bank to pay cash from a bank account is called a check. This is going to be the source document for all cash payments. They are pre-numbered already, so this one is check number 1. When we journalize this transaction, we would abbreviate it as C1 for check 1. Another type of source document we will have is an invoice. So when services are sold on account, the seller prepares a form showing information about the sale. A form describing the goods or services sold, the quantity, the price, and terms of sale is called an invoice. Terms of sale could include the due date of the invoice and any penalties for late payment. An invoice used as a source document for recording sales on account is called a sale invoice. And a sale invoice is also referred to as a sales ticket or a sales slip. These need to be prepared in duplicate. The original is given to the customer, and the copy is kept for the business to record this transaction. All of these source documents can be critically important in tracking down errors. Businesses file their source documents so they can be referred to if it's necessary to verify information entered into their journals. Next we have receipts. This is a business form giving written acknowledgement for cash received. When cash is received from sources other than sales, Delgado Web Services prepares a receipt. These are also pre-numbered. You can see this is receipt number 1. A receipt is the source document for cash received from transactions other than sales. And we would abbreviate this as R1. Our sale invoices would be abbreviated as S. A memorandum is used when there's no other source document for a transaction. It is a form on which a brief message is written to describe the transaction. These are also pre-numbered as well, and you would abbreviate this as M1. Now, Delgado Web Services, our business that we use in the beginning of this book, collects cash at the time services are rendered to customers. At the end of each day, Delgado Web Services uses a printing electronic calculator to total the amount of cash received from sales for that day. By totaling all the individual sales, a single source document is produced for the total sales of the day. Thus, time and space is saved by recording only one entry for all of the day's sales. The calculator tape is a source document for daily sales, and this is abbreviated here as T10, which indicates the tape is for the 10th day of the month. When we prepare our journal entries, a company's journal is sometimes referred to as a book or of original entry. This means that the journal entry is the first place a business transaction becomes a permanent part of a company's accounting system. Because the journal is a permanent record, accountants usually record journal entries in ink rather than in pencil. When an entry in an amount column is an even dollar amount, 2 zeros should be added to the cents column. If the column were left blank instead, there might be a question about whether the amount was omitted. Now, even though they record using ink and not pencil, not you, we are using pencil because we are learning, so please do not use pen. Our first transaction that we will do will be receiving cash from owner as an investment. So an example is January 2nd, we received cash from owner as an investment for $2,000. It's receipt number 1. This transaction in our T account would look like this, where cash received a debit and increased by $2,000 on the left side, and our Michael Delgado Capital increased with a credit on the right side of our 2T accounts here. So to prepare this, we would first write our date in the date column. We will put JAN and then 2. So the month goes in this first column, and the day of the month goes in the second column here. If you choose to write the year, you write it small on top of the month, just on the first line. I also like to fill in my document number right away. Receipt number 1 is R1. That way I just don't forget it. So we have two accounts, cash and Michael Delgado Capital. Cash has a special amount column just for cash. So because of that, we do not need to write the cash account title. We will, however, need to write Michael Delgado, Capital, because there is not a special amount column for that. Remember, special amount columns are used for accounts that are used often. So, Michael Delgado, he's going to receive a general debit of $2,000. and we will record a cash debit of $2,000 on the same line. So this is one transaction. So instead of using your T accounts, you would record it on this one line in your journal. Couple of things, dollars and cent signs and decimal points are not used when writing amounts on ruled accounting paper. So we're not going to use dollar symbols, and we're not going to use decimal points. Do not use commas. None of that is needed. Our second transaction is for paying cash for supplies. On January 2nd, we paid cash for supplies, $165, check number 1. This would be recorded in our T accounts, where supplies receives a debit and cash receives a credit. To record this in our journal, we will write the date. We will just write 2. You do not write the month. Again, you only write that on the first line of the journal. And then I would put in C1 for check 1. We have a special amount column for cash. Since that's used so frequently, it would just be too much work to write it over and over again. It'd take too much time. So cash is going to receive our credit on this line of $165. We will need to write supplies for the account title and then give supplies a general debit on line 2. We will not use the post reference column yet. That's something we will use in a later chapter. If you don't use the post reference column or these other columns where we're not putting in any dollar amounts, don't put in zeros, don't draw lines, just leave it blank and try and keep things neat so that way you can read your own handwriting. So when we add our numbers up later, you don't have to wonder what it is you wrote.